Russell Edward Brand. Ooh, what a heavy read. There's a there's a lot of heaviness and I'm still feeling the effects. I've just finished kind of looking into everything and feeling into everything, and I'm feeling quite heavy. So if you notice that, that's the residual of looking into Russell Brand's energy and the messages that I got. So first of all, I want to say thank you to my friend who um, suggested Russell Brand because Kate, thank you very much. She was curious about this recent, well, I guess it's not recent. What has it been, a year or two? I don't know. Conversion to Christianity. And I was quite shocked at that too, because when I first became aware of Russell Brand, I don't know, so many years ago, I never really listened to him because unfortunately, he's a fast talker. He uses too many words and he takes like 4 or 5 minutes to ask a question in interviews. And I simply did not have the brain power for all that listening and trying to understand what he was saying. Like, too quick of a talker, like brilliant. And I totally felt his sincerity and truth. I mean, I really enjoyed him, but I just couldn't listen to him. But I was aware at that time that he was doing studying in the area of consciousness or meditation, and he had that channel going on, and I was like quite impressed. And it felt and everything that I saw him doing felt totally sincere. Um, yeah, so that was my view. But like I said, I couldn't follow him. But the whole shock move to Christianity was really shocking. What do I want to say? I do want to say, just because, um, you would think, what I was asking myself was, oh my gosh, he was into consciousness, talking about non-duality, and doing all this, like going down that road, the same road that I went down. What happened? How do you go from that, which is a kind of monolithic belief system, the source of intelligence is all pervasive and it's within you, and you follow your inner truth, and there's no such thing as while it's a loving, absolute loving and accepting, uh, all pervasive intelligence. um, it's a non-judging intelligence. It's a non-judgment force. There's no guilt. There's blah blah blah. The only guilt and judgment that arises is what comes from you. I mean, this whole just very loving force that is within you. That is you, and that's your going inwards, is to find your own truth, right? And then to move from that to a practice of, oh, God is outside of myself, and there are these rules and there are judgments, and I have to ask for forgiveness. That was shocking. And so if it was shocking to you, here's what I got: that while he was looking into areas of consciousness and Hinduism and all that sort of stuff, there was what I got was he didn't quite understand, get it. He's, from what I get, this is just an opinion, he never quite got a glimpse of that, which, didn't have any kind of awakening of consciousness to understand that it's in you and blah, 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 we're all whatever. And that he was using it more as, I'm not going to say a gimmick, but he has the ability to take some small understanding and really market it to the world. And he's totally sincere, but he didn't quite get like what non-duality really was. Maybe could talk about it, but didn't have experiential, direct experience of it. Um, and so was just doing the meditation and mindfulness more so than really understanding consciousness. And what I got was he was not, the lifetime here was not about his conscious awakening. As a matter of fact, it's actually his deepest karma was not to understand consciousness and the Christ energy. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So now I can understand, okay, he didn't quite get it. He never got a glimpse. So what he was marketing was more mindfulness and meditation and yoga or whatever he was teaching. He's very good at it, and he's very sincere at wanting to help people. Yeah. But it was easy for him to get pulled into another direction. So now I have understanding of what happened. So hopefully that will help you. Okay, I don't even know where to start. There's so much psychological stuff that I'm going to share with you. But for those of you who don't have the patience or care to listen any further, what I can say is um, the information and commentary and news stuff that he offers the world is true and sincere and trustworthy. But his current situation regarding this Christian conversion, there is indeed something amiss. But there are several factors at play. And I really had no idea that people see. I haven't followed him. I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't. Um, there is a grift going on, but it's almost like it's not a malicious, intentional grift coming from him. It's something that he can't help. I'll explain why later, but if in case you were wondering, like something's off, something doesn't feel right with this Christian thing, yeah, something is off. Something is and I got that he's being insincere and not honest about it. So you are right. Your feelings are right, but he's not doing it in a malicious way. There are other factors happening, and if you want to stay tuned for that, great, so that we have understanding about this man who's just having a journey, his spiritual journey, and he's just yeah, these are karmic influences and ego influences and some other influences at play. So what I want to do first is kind of lay a kind of a groundwork for understanding the man according to the reading, the soul contract that I have. And I would say I don't know anything about his story, but I mean, I know he had addiction issues, and so early in life, I suspect, and what his chart says, there were instances of perhaps abuse, some kind of using force over him or something to suppress, oppress, or repress, oppress his uh, inner knowing, his inner power, his inner truth, his ability to say no, his ability to, stand in his own power. Okay. So that was early childhood experiences. And why I'm saying this is it's setting a groundwork for what's happened recently. His inability to say no, kind of like a people pleaser, always looking for confirmation outside of himself. And if somebody comes along that he finds wiser or something, he can easily be swayed. I know that doesn't sound like him, but this is what the chart tells me. And this character trait is part of what's happening into the Christian conversion, kind of like trying to appease somebody, not being in touch with his inner no, losing contact with his inner truth. And going deeper into his most unconscious, deepest spiritual karma, it all has to, I mean, no coincidences here. It has to do, it's number 13, which is all about the divine feminine issues, relationships with the female or the mother, but it is representative of Christ consciousness. So I find this very interesting, but it also shows you that, of course, he was trying to understand the Hinduism, the conscious studies of consciousness and Christ consciousness within you, but he couldn't because he has first of all, it's not his lifetime for that awakening, but that he had an inability to truly understand, and his karma is about, obviously, which is, these unconscious karmic conditions come up later in life because they're the deepest level. And so they're coming up here with all of the lawsuits and accusations. Hey, yeah, he he maybe cannot even understand when somebody else is saying no or somebody else is right? So all of this is at play. It's just a human experience. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to stand up for him, but it's just the play of consciousness, right? Okay. So much information. I hope you find this worthy, because what I also got and what I also know is that Russell Brand is so sincere. He has a good heart, a good heart. He wants to learn, he wants to better himself. There's truly that desire to be a better human, but he gets pulled off track. And of course, like all of us, the ego is in control, for many of us. Okay, so the first message that I got from just the universe about what are we here to understand, is that this is a man in crisis, right? Sorry, I have to look at my notes a little bit. Um, and he has lost his connection to his inner truth that he was beginning to cultivate in those years of meditation, which he still does, by the way. And he's lost his connection with a sense of the way he conducts himself, his sense of appropriateness, due to his utter sense of lack of self-love and guilt. Okay, hold on here. I'm going to put you on pause for 1 second. If I could get through a video without a cat interrupting me, it'd be a miracle. Okay, sorry this is going to be so long. Let me just rephrase here. He's lost his way for conducting himself, meaning he's lost his center, ignoring his inner truth, and trying to project the image of conducting himself in an appropriate manner according to outside sources. These outside sources include people like Jordan Peterson and people, influential Christian leaders that have kind of, I don't know, that he got connected with. So part of this little Christian grift, which he thinks is the right thing to do, and it's fear of his ego. It's utter fear of his ego. Number one, guilt, and also fear of losing his identity and losing his ability to have outside confirmation from his followers. So now he's like, I'm going to cultivate a new image due to his own guilt, blah, 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 with a whole new set of people, right? And this is all coming from a lack of self-love and guilt. The guilt has separated him from his wholeness, and his ego is in overdrive for survival. Okay. So while what I get is he's inwardly, he knows, oh, this maybe is not the thing, but it's like, I have to do it. I have to show people. He is so full of regret. And sorry, I've got to lower my hand from Zoom. That he's trying to make a show of it, and that's the insincerity. You don't have to. He's making almost a mockery of his regret. He's trying to show you, okay, by taking on this Christian, whatever thing. Please, I don't mean any offense to the Christian religion or people out there. Sorry. However, yes, it is indeed a publicity stunt to show his regret. However, other forces are at play. Of course, like I said earlier, he's a bit of a people pleaser. And so at his weakest point, people like Jordan Peterson come along, and I guess, there's kind of been like this, well, maybe it's just because now I'm more focused on it with TPUSA and the Christian blah, blah, blah. But it seems like there's like a revival in the social media thing of Christianity or Catholicism. It's all coming up. Well, there's a reason for that. Anyway, just lost my train of thought. So let's just move forward. Let me get on with this reading. So regarding when I say he's just uh, not just, I don't mean to say that in a diminishing way, but when I say he's just a man on a journey, what I mean is he is a pure human soul. Let me see here. This life was not about spiritually awakening, no, but this life, I use David Hawkins' power versus source in the levels of consciousness, and he calibrates at 400, which is the view of, oh, I'm trying to take all these abstract ideas about God and life and bring them into form so that I can make meaning out of my life. And I have understanding, that understanding, forgiveness, or whatever, and that my view of God is that God is the wise one. Okay, so really at this level of consciousness, it does seem like a good fit for him to find his way to this Christianity because yeah, anyway. What else do I want to say? I'll get into the juicy part here. So not to. Okay. So another thing that is um, playing a role in this kind of grifting energy. So what I want to say, when a human being is in the grips of deep emotional pain, particularly guilt and the lack of self-love, you set yourself up. It's like it's a buffet banquet for those demonic, negative energies, disembodied soul, whatever, to come right for you, right? Because they live in the lower astral realm, and that's the stuff that they feed on. And so with his heavy guilt, he was a magnet for an attachment of a demonic energy. However, this demonic energy is at the behest of, God, it's so much to remember, the Archon grid. Okay. And when I say demonic, what I mean is, like in everyday life, we have our own helpers in this realm. You can call them angels, helpers, devatas, the elementals that help. They're helpers of building, right? Yeah, they help you. And so like they're the worker bees for this realm. Well, demonic forces are the same thing. They're like the worker bees, and they just kind of do what they're told. It's attraction, repulsion kind of thing. Oh, this person's in guilt. We like guilt because that's what we're made of, or we're being told to go here. Anyway, so I did find that he does have a demonic attachment, in addition to all the influences of the people around him. And this demonic attachment's agenda via the Archon grid is to throw him off course. So I'm looking at my notes. And it is something to do with this psyop, psychological operation that is happening globally on the Christian faith. Okay. It's all to create chaos, distrust, to pull people back into a religious arena. Like we're headed into this time of consciousness. We're awakening consciousness. Everyone's going within and discovering God is within and everywhere, and there's nothing outside of yourself. They know that, and this is why they're drawing people back, if they can, into a religious institution that separates you from God, that makes you look outside of yourself. Okay, no offense to any religious thing. But yeah, that is the goal, to create separation and distrust because he has a lot of influence, but also it's happening globally. Okay, this has been long enough. But in general, um, this is not an intentional malicious grift. He is aware of this at the level of, oh, this may not feel right, but it's it's what I have to do because the ego is in total survival mode, and I get my confirmation from the outside world, and this is what the world is telling me that I need to do to help save me. So he is aware of the grift. Now, I will say that his wife is not aware of the grift, and I just saw a like tiny little snippet of their Sunday service, and um, I'm, oh, she has a very docile energy, and she is not aware. I think she's fully on board. It's very interesting dynamic. Anyway, I was not expecting that. I was expecting a very strong. Anyway, I'm not going to make an opinion there. Anyway, that's Russell Brand. He's not maliciously trying to grift, but he's in the grips of a karmic situation and influences outside of himself. So it's a very difficult situation. Let's all have some understanding and compassion. And that's all for now. Till next time.